Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Agemy Financial Strategies in Guilford, Connecticut and Denver, Colorado.
So we're sitting there in a parking lot. The truck's beautiful. We're sitting in the nice, soft leather seats with massaging seats, and it's got the chrome package, twin turbos, 400 horsepower, right? But it's taken us almost 6 hours to get 100 miles into a 2,100-mile trip. The thing keeps going into limp mode, right? When we're trying to go up these little hills, pulling this 9,000-pound trailer.
Daniel, sounds like a very exciting rig and truck, a very sexy truck. And that reminds me of people's sexy portfolios. People come in to show me their retirement plan, say, Andrew, look at what I have. I look at, this is really good. This is sexy. This is powerful. This is great. I say, yeah, but there's one problem. It's in limp mode. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about the difference between having enough money to retire and having a successful retirement. That truck, right? 400 horsepower,
right?
Twin turbos, should have had no problem pulling that trailer up those hills. But because the power wasn't being dispersed evenly between all the spark plugs, right? It had one cracked spark plug. And even though you couldn't see that, you felt it, right? We had the advantage of knowing this truck should be able to pull up these hills, where people with their portfolios may not know it doesn't have the output that it should, because it's not so obvious in such a short amount of time, right? It may take years before they realize it doesn't have the output that they need.
That's exactly right, Daniel. Because people don't know what they don't know, right? And people think, oh, I'm investing in the S&P 500, so this is a good thing. It's sexy. It's going to give me power. It's going to help my stuff to grow. But they don't know that a lot of those companies in the S&P 500, should there be another 2008, are going to go bankrupt because of how they're set up. They don't know the expenses that they're paying. They don't know just a lot of things about it that will not make it happen when it comes to retirement, because they don't think of retirement as being any different than when they were working, but it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And you sit in the truck, right? You sit in the truck, and if you put your hands on the steering wheel, you shouldn't feel anything in this truck, right? You shouldn't feel anything. You shouldn't even be able to feel it's on. If you can feel kind of a skip in the steering wheel, just barely lightly, that's a sign something's not exactly running right. But then when you're pulling a 9,000-pound trailer up these hills, it really shows up, right? Yeah. And so you might be feeling or seeing those little bumps, those little things. You got to sell a little bit more when you need to take your RMD, or you don't have the confidence that you need. Like, oh yeah, I can go on that vacation because I know I have income to take care of me, right? These are those little signs, like you feel that little shake, tiny little shake in the steering wheel. And then when you see something like March, because I mean, how many people did we have call up, ask us to pat them on the back in March of 2020 when the stock market fell apart? And that was the truck not making it up the hill.
Right.
But they keep going that way. And they're going to Montana, and who knows if they'll ever get there, because the truck's still not making it up the hills. They're not stopping and changing those spark plugs.
Yeah. Well, there was that hill there, right? And now it's flat ground again, so to speak, and they're enjoying it. But that doesn't mean that the spark plugs aren't all that doesn't mean that spark plugs are firing on all the cylinders right now. So that is not good. And having enough assets for retirement and having a successful retirement, those are two different things. And that's what we need to be talking about today. And that's what, if you just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And we're, because people don't know what people don't know. And people think, well, I need $1 million. I need $2 million, whatever case may be. But enough assets is different than being able to have the money that you need to be able to last the rest of your life. We have a friend who says perfect retirement is having more income than you need to the day that you die. And a lot of people are just afraid to be able to take money out of their retirements. Well, one of the big ideas, we have a paper that we like to put in your hands if you just joined us on Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. It's called 7 Milestone Ages to Remember in Retirement. It's there are various age time frames that are associated that this will educate you on, so that you can be aware and be able to be set up to be able to get it. Ask for it by name, 7 Milestone Ages. 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. Daniel, what are some of the mistakes, when people have enough assets and they got these sexy portfolios, what do they look like?
Well, they look the same as the 401k model, right? They just kept the same assets. When you're accumulating wealth, you're dollar cost averaging. You're putting a little bit of your paycheck into markets, and as they go up and down, actually down is better for you. Everyone wants to see their portfolio go up in value, but the way people have accumulated wealth is because markets don't go straight up, right? They come down and then they come back up over time, but with those dips are buying opportunities. So we'll have people come in all the time, right? And they'll be preaching to us about how great the growth model is, because they're used to saving,
putting it away,
saving. And what happens is it flips. Once you retire, somebody needs to work for you. Something has to generate income, right? Something has to create money in order for you to have the lifestyle that you want to have, in order for you to have the monetary benefit to continue on in life, right? To go on the vacations you want to do, to give you confidence in retirement, to maintain the lifestyle you want to have. So who's going to work for you? If you decide to retire, who's going to work for you?
Well, my money better be working for me if I'm retiring.
Right. And that's where some people get a little messed up and confused, because even professionals don't understand typically switching. They're in the growth at all costs, right? Growth.
Right.
Let me accumulate this. And that's the sexy thing. But the difficulty is, just like with that truck, it had the power, it had enough power, but the power wasn't allocated 100% correctly.
Right.
And therefore it wasn't getting the output. So it's changing the allocation to go from a sexy growth accumulation of wealth model to let me protect what I have and generate a stream of income that I could live off of, replace my paycheck. Now I'm no longer working. Let my assets work for me, and turning those into productive assets. I think that's such a key word, is having productive assets in your portfolio. If that's real estate, if that's whatever that is, but things that pay you to own them.
Right. And that is so important, that your money is working for you in your retirement. As you worked hard for your money and you saved it and you accumulated it, which is all good. But once you've accumulated it, it needs to be working for you, and kind of like being a sweatshop. Instead of sitting on the beach sipping pina coladas, you want to be in the beach sipping pina coladas. So it needs to be able to work for you by producing dividends and interest to be able to give you the income that you need, and having more income than you need to the day that you die. That's a perfect retirement. That's a successful retirement. So assets don't equate, and having enough assets don't equate to a successful retirement. You're absolutely right, Daniel. And, when you're talking about that, when we're using that truck analogy, right, there's horsepower and there's torque. And, torque is a thing that pulls that weight like that. Horsepower is sexy. And that's kind of kind of be the same thing, right? Allocation is kind of like the horsepower, and being able to have the income that you need would be kind of the torque that's going to take you through life, and it's going to pull you all the way through life, and which is a very important which is the number one aspect of a successful retirement.
Yeah. Success, right? The definition of success is accomplishing an aim or purpose, right? And so sometimes people just continue on the same philosophy, the same investment philosophy. But you have to think, if you went from working and saving money, even if you don't think you're saving, typically most people are having money come out of their paychecks into their 401ks, and now your assets need to pay you. That means the purpose just changed. Right. So how can you be successful if you didn't change your philosophy, your investment philosophy, and have a new aim, right? So how can you be successful if your purpose isn't there, your aim to a purpose, so you can actually succeed?
Yeah. And, having, that's excellent, Daniel. That's good stuff. Well, listen, if you've just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement, because it can be two different things. And we are glad to be able to have you with us. And we want to put in your hands a book that we think would be able to help you free of charge. It's called Common Sense Income Strategies, written by Michael Eastham, a CPA. And we'd love to put that in your hands and give you some ideas how you can be able to have your money working hard for you. And when it's time to change from the accumulation to the distribution, or at least getting some distribution as opposed to just pure accumulation. 800-725-7616. Just ask for the book, Income Strategies. 800-725-7616. We're going to need to take a break, and we will continue talking about enough assets to retire or successful retirement. Which will it be for you? We'll be right back after this.
I'm David Scranton, founder of the Retirement Income Store. If you're in or near retirement, are you certain you have the right retirement plan in place? Do you want to help ensure your nest egg will last you all throughout retirement? Take our retirement review quiz and find out in 5 minutes or less if you're doing everything you can to achieve a more successful retirement.
Visit us online at agemy.com. That's AGEMY.com. Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
When she came in to see me for her review, she said, Andrew, I need more money every month than what I currently have. I don't know how I'm going to get it. I'm not able to work anymore. I'm 78 years old. I still have a lot of life in front of me, and I don't want to dig into my principal on my investments. I said, Susie, the great thing about this is it's not a problem. I can get you over $3,000 a month, over $40,000 a year of income, and your $1.3 million will continue to grow, and you won't run out of money for the rest of your life. You'll be able to do those things you want to do that you haven't been able to do. You'll be able to remodel the bathroom. You'll be able to go see the grandkids for Christmas, and you're not going to run out of money. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're all listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about enough assets or successful retirement. And that illustrates perfectly the difference between when you are, right, the definition of investing is it pays you. It needs to pay you to be an investment. So if you have things that don't pay anything, or tiny amounts, right? Like if you buy the S&P right now, what's it actually paying you?
I mean, Daniel, come on. I mean, if I put $100,000 in the S&P and it goes up to 120,000, isn't that paying me?
No, see, you're speculating, right? So that's why the definition of an investment matters so much, is that it has to pay you to be investment. If it's not, it's a speculation. So speculation and retirement do not go very hand in hand, right?
Right.
So you need it to pay you. And that's where you get the confidence from. Okay.
Well,
That's where you get
didn't
the
that,
confidence from, is when you know, like Susie knew, when you explain to her that her accounts are generating, $50,000, $60,000 a year. So if she took 40,
right,
she doesn't touch any of the money she's ever saved. All the money she's ever saved stays there. She's taking 40. And
right,
then if it's generating 60, and now this is income, okay, we'll say 50. If it's generating 50 of
right,
income, that
right,
means there's another 10 that's being reinvested and growing. But you could still get the speculation. You could still get the growth with these things, but you don't have to depend upon that because the investment is paying her. She just spends that money, and all the money she's ever stays there and is still working for her to give her the income she needs.
So it's kind of like that equation that we use of TR, meaning total return equals I, income, plus G, right? So what you're saying is that in order for it to be an investment, we need to have the I going on. The G, the interest and dividends, is the I, paying you just like in old-fashioned bank accounts that would pay you interest. And the G, well, if it goes from, like my illustration of going putting $100,000 in the S&P and it goes to 120, well, that's good. But the problem with the G is it could become an L. It could become a loss. And that 120 could turn into 80,000 or less at the same time. And so it's not paying me at that point. Only if I cash in the 20,000 and I go back to the 100, but now still the 100 could go down to 80. Whereas if I'm getting in the example that you said, $50,000 a year from the I, well, it's paying me every year. And that equals the total return that we're making on the money. Growth is a beautiful thing. It's sexy, just like that truck that we talked about earlier. Great rig, looks good. It's got can do some things, but not in the proper fashion. Not putting.
Well, it wasn't allocated
road.
properly.
Right.
The power was not being allocated evenly between the spark plugs because one was bad. And that's the same. If your portfolio is not allocated properly,
Right.
then you're not getting the output you need, right? So call it what it is. We're not making these definitions up.
Right. That's
so
right.
if you're in retirement and you want to be a speculator, well, go for it. Have fun, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to provide you confidence.
No.
Because speculation it's the opposite of confidence, right?
Right.
And you can do that. We're just saying that when you get that allocation properly, just like on that truck, once the spark plugs were changed and it was allocating the power properly, the thing ripped up the hills and the U-Haul couldn't keep up with it, right?
Right.
But you have to get that allocation 100% tuned up to get maximum output as opposed to speculating.
Right. And, speculation is based purely upon hope. And hope is not a retirement plan, right? What people want, generally speaking, from what my experience has been with working with retirees and pre-retirees for almost 30 years, well, over 30 years at this point, is that they want guarantees and promises, because that's what you can take to the bank. That's what you can have deposited into your bank account every month to give you the income that you need to be able to live the rest of your life. And that's what a beautiful thing is. That's the beautiful thing about having enough income. Assets are one thing, but income is another thing. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. We want to educate you to be able to have at least the right questions, or know what questions to ask, to be able to make sure that you're moving forward. We have a paper that we like to give you today called 7 Milestone Ages to Remember when you were talking about retirement. So there's many different ages, like 59 and a half is one of those ages, and 72 is another. And we'd like to give this to you as a kind of a primer for retirement planning. And you can have that for free by calling 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. Today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement, two different things. We're using the definition of a perfect retirement as having more income than you need to the day that you die. That would be a beautiful thing to have that, so that more income that you need and you're able to do what you want as from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, somebody said something to me the other day. They said, doesn't your dad always say something about if you don't spend your money, your kids will? So we should spend our money. And I said, yes, but with a caveat. He's talking about when you have that allocation just right and your accounts are pumping out maximum income, you could actually do both, because you can spend all that income and your assets stay intact.
Yeah. That's funny that you say that, Daniel. That reminds me, the other day I was having dinner with some people, and the guy turns to me and says, hey, my sister, Peachy, we'll call her Peachy, right? My sister Peachy told me that she's remodeling her bathroom because you made her so much money. And I said, yeah, what do you want me to say? We're getting her to income. She's got more than enough income to be able to live for the rest of her life. And so, remodel the bathroom, go for it. So he liked that idea. He was quite impressed with that.
Yeah. I love seeing the confidence that people get when they know they're not spending down their assets. And that's why this show is so important, because we're talking about enough money can run out if it's not set up to work for you. Right.
Yeah.
And that's that definition, is it has to pay you, right? When they pay you, you're just spending an income stream. You're not spending. People have a hard time sometimes wrapping their head around this because nothing pays, right? You go to the bank and banks are earning money on your money, but you know what they're doing with it? They're giving Jamie Dimon, $25 million a year or 30 million, whatever he gets paid to be the CEO, instead of paying you interest on the money you put in. So people are so used to this thing where you can't earn anything, and it's hard to switch their heads around to say, I can buy things that are productive assets.
Yeah.
Productive meaning it's producing me income.
Yeah. And, the thing is, it's the herd mentality, so to speak, whereas, the herd follows the leader, right? How Indians used to kill buffalo was they get the leader, they stampede him toward a cliff, and the leader would lead him right off the cliff and they would die. And that's how they would kill a herd of buffalo that way. And you follow the herd, and people today are just taking the same rhetoric. Oh, you can't get any interest on your money. You can't make any money on your money. The only game in town is the stock market, right? There is no alternative. Tina, but Tina's wrong. That's another show that we did. Listen to that. Tina is wrong. There are alternatives. The banks know about these alternatives, but they're not going to tell you, because you're their competition. But that's what, as financial strategies that Andrew Daniel Agemy is all about, is trying to help people to understand there are different ways of doing things. And when it comes to retirement, you have to think outside the box. You have to think differently. Retirement is different than your working years in a lot of ways. Everything changes. All bets are off when it comes to retirement, right? As far as your schedule changes, your paycheck changes, your friends change, everything changes, and you have to do things differently. And it just makes sense that you have to change your investments to do things differently too.
Absolutely. I love it. When you make that change, it changes everything, and it gives you that confidence, right? How many times do we have people come in who are touting the capital gains, and then they say, can you make me a lot of money because I have all these capital losses I want to write off? Right. I know you've seen that a lot of times.
Yeah, we see a lot of people with a lot of capital losses from other firms.
Say, you got to learn. Don't go for that. Don't go for that speculation. If you want to do that on a portion of your money, you got all the purpose, right? We found out today you have to have a purpose in order to have success.
Yeah.
So you get that purpose, and then you want to speculate. That's one thing. But trying to get that speculation so you can write off your last speculations is not going to work out well in retirement.
Not at all. You want some promises, you want some guarantees to make sure that you can have more than enough income until the day that you die. And you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement. Which will it be for you? Well, we have a book that we'd like to give you that will help you and educate you a little bit. Easy read book by our friend Mike Easom, CPA. Common Sense Income Strategies. Give you some information on the different things that are available, the alternatives that are out there, and how you can invest for income rather than investing for growth. You can still get growth with income, but with growth, you're typically not going to be getting income. So that's what this is about, to be able to have the money that you need till the day that you die. You can have this book for free, no obligation, at calling 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. We'd love to educate you and put this in your hands. We'll be right back after this.
History tells us the market goes up and the market goes down. What would you do if you lost half of your retirement savings? It's time to make the shift to steady, reliable retirement income. And where do you go? The Retirement Income Store. Log on to agemy.com for your free retirement review. That's AGEMY.com. The Retirement Income Store, where retirees go for income.
Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
There's 2 minutes left in this basketball game. You're up by 25 points. What do you do? Well, unless you're Gino of the Connecticut girls basketball, you're going to put in the second string and not risk losing the game and maybe even losing the season. You're going to go back to basics. You're going to be able to take care and make sure that you're just run the clock out, as opposed to keeping the first string in. Maybe somebody gets broke and racking up the points, which is the way for you to go. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about the difference between having enough assets and having a successful retirement. Dad, what does basketball have to do with retirement?
Well, I run into people many times that have the assets that they need. They've racked up the points. They have enough money to win the game of life, financially speaking. But the problem is they don't change their methodology. They don't put the second string in and run the clock out. And they go for broke. They keep the first string in, financially speaking. They keep their assets set up for accumulation, as opposed to going for distribution. They keep them trying to just knock the socks off and get those account values to go up, to look sexy, and to be get assets. But that's the whole point of today's show, is that it's not about the assets. It's about the maximum income that you can have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm thinking about somebody who called up. They wanted a second opinion on their portfolio. We looked over everything, did a cost analysis. How much money do you need? And technically, she had enough money to retire.
Uh-huh.
And she kept pushing for, so I'll be okay. So I'll be okay. But the assets were set up real weird. Part of it was set up for income because it was inherited money, and her parents had to set up for income. Part of it was in cash, and part of it was in a bunch of weird stuff. She had some huge losses from mortgage-backed securities too, but she had just enough money. And if she changed that allocation, right, she could have had enough assets. And that's the difference, right? She could have had enough assets to produce the amount of income that she needed to have a successful retirement. But she didn't want to make any changes. She just wanted somebody to say, you have enough money to retire.
Pat her on the back. Right. because it's this concept that it's erroneous. Oh, I have enough money to retire. Well, what do you mean by that? Let's quantify that. Will the money that you have produce the paycheck that you need every month?
Right.
Or do you have to kind of jerry rig it to makeshift it to like withdraw it and hope that when you withdraw, a $40,000, that it's going to go up by $40,000 or $50,000? Hope. I mean, that's a crazy way of looking at things.
And it's not realistic. Like when you do when you do really any type of analysis on current markets, if the Fed keeps just printing money and keeps blowing up markets and keeps bailing out markets, then maybe we will go another 10 years just up, 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 up. That's a pretty big maybe to put your retirement on, right? But if we look historically, we have
Daniel,
not had periods this long.
Let me just stop you here for a minute. So let's say it does go up for 10 years, right? But then it falls because it doesn't always go up. So even if it does, if you don't change it at some point, you're still risking it, even if it goes up. So it's crazy. Go ahead.
Well,
sorry.
That's where we get back to that speculation. And if you want your retirement to be based on speculation, go for it. And I wish you the best. But, hopes and wishes are not how to have a retirement. And if you're on the other side and you're like, well, I'm terrified. I'm just absolutely terrified. I lost all my money. I lost half my money in the, great financial crash. And so I never want to invest in anything again. You're going to be in a tough spot too, because you have to clear that inflation hurdle if you want to have the same purchasing power in the future. And so it's really this fine balance, this fine-tuned machine to get you tuned up to produce that income. And when you produce that and your assets start working for you, it gives you all this mental clarity, right? It gives you all this confidence that you can go out and do the things you enjoy instead of when you're sitting on your cruise ship, going and checking your investments, making sure that things are still going well so you can afford the cruise ship.
Yeah. Guaranteed maximum income, getting the making sure that you get the most income that you can possibly get from your investments. There's two ways of doing that. One is from interest and dividends. There's really only one way to do it, from interest and dividends. Another way that people try to do it is from engineering income, and how they do that is by withdrawing money from their account. And the problem with that is you're taking from principal. Anybody here want to withdraw from principal? Not me. I want to take from interest and dividends, because then I know that I have the maximum. I'm guaranteed to have the maximum income that I can get for the rest of my life. And that's what a successful retirement is about. Having income so that you can do all those things you want to do. Go on cruises, buy RVs, go see the grandkids, help the grandkids with college, whatever it may be, or just enjoy yourself. Fly first class. If you don't think you have enough money to fly first class, your kids will. So why don't you do it? I would rather see you do it. So this is why you need income. And this is why the thinking and the methodology needs to change.
And we put together a white paper or a brochure so people could kind of get an idea, see it on paper of exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. And with the engineering income aspect, you have the danger of running out of principal. So this paper is called The Dangers of Spending Down Principal During Retirement. You don't want to spend down principal because you could run out of money. And that's the greatest fear. So if you want that white paper that will explain it in detail so that you can see it firsthand, please call us 800-725-7616. No obligation, free of charge. The dangers of spending down principal during retirement. 800-725-7616. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. Today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement. Which would you rather have?
Dad, we're talking to somebody the other day who has a guaranteed income payment, and he doesn't need it. And people could do some pretty neat things. The way he's set up is where he has this payment. I think it's, if I remember right, it's like a $40,000 payment, and he can move it from this guaranteed account, doesn't have to spend it, doesn't have to get taxed on it, over into an investment account. And what's that do? That makes his money's working for him. It's giving him $40,000 a year, no matter what, right? And then he gets the choice. He could turn it into more income. He could do the dollar cost averaging strategy because he got his purpose taken care of first, right?
Yeah.
He got that purpose taken care of, and he's got this income. And it gives you so much flexibility, because it's like you're back in the old days when you're going to work making $40,000 a year at your job, right? 30 years ago, making $40,000, and you get the choice. Am I want to spend all this money? Do I want to invest some of it? What do I want to do with this money? And it's really neat how, when you look at the purpose first, if you don't need the money, if he doesn't need this $40,000, he gets to decide how he wants to use that money, because he's already allocated for maximum output. One of our good friends down there in Florida, right, always talks about getting the maximum output on your investments.
Right. And that's a beautiful thing that you're talking about, the synergy in there, where you're taking this guaranteed income. He has that available if he wants it, or he can take it, he can reinvest it for income, he can reinvest it for growth, he can do whatever he wants with that. And he can grow money the old-fashioned way through interest and dividends, the way people did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Or, there's just a lot. Take advantage of real opportunities out there. Take advantage of staying ahead of inflation, ahead of taxation, right? We talked a lot on our show about the taxation going to be increasing, and it's important to be able to stay ahead of that, as well as now with inflation. I mean, Social Security, the Social Security Administration says that inflation has come back, and they're increasing Social Security checks 5.9% for 2022. And so that says that inflation is here, and it's coming back, and people's investments, people's income needs to stay up with that. Well, if you've just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement. Which would it be for you? Well, we have a book that can help you be able to understand this a little bit better, so that you can make sure that you have a successful retirement with having more than enough income to live to the day that you die. And this is called Common Sense Income Strategies by Michael Eastham. And we're glad to be able to put this in your hand for free, no obligation. All you need to do is call us and let us know. 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616, and we'll be glad to get this out to you. Call now. We'll be right back after this.
I'm David Scranton, founder of the Retirement Income Store. If you're in or near retirement, are you certain you have the right retirement plan in place? Do you want to help ensure your nest egg will last you all throughout retirement? Take our retirement review quiz and find out in 5 minutes or less if you're doing everything you can to achieve a more successful retirement.
Visit us online at agemy.com. That's AGEMY.com. Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
That I was talking to a realtor the other day, and he says, Daniel, you should buy this house, 1.5 million in Denver. It's 3 units. Mortgage is probably gonna be around $6,000 a month, and but you're gonna get rental income. You're gonna get like $4,500 a month in rental income. And I start looking at these numbers, and I'm like, that's a gross number on the income. Mm-hmm. And so I say, these numbers don't make sense. It's not even going to cover the mortgage payment. Why do I want to do that? That doesn't make any sense. And he says, well, That thing sold for $500,000 8 years ago. So you're going to get appreciation. And I said, how do I know I'm going to get appreciation? Just because it did that in the past doesn't mean it's going to continue to do that. I want the income. I want to get paid to wait for it to appreciate. I'm
Right.
Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement. Because people don't know what people don't know. And Daniel, that's a great story, in regard to that, because people think, oh, well, it's been growing. The market, look at how well the market has done, from March of 2009 to today, it's gone up quite a bit, right? But we've also had some glitches in there. They weren't really long, but, it's well overdue. But nevertheless, that's the speculation thing. That's what this realtor wanted you to do, was speculate on saying, buy it for 1.5 million, and you're going to speculate it's going to be worth more in the future. But that's not what you wanted to do. You wanted to have the promises of the income, the rental income, being more than enough to not just pay for the mortgage, but be able to put some money in your pocket, as well as being able to take care of the expenses on that. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about today. Is the successful retirement is going to make sure that you have more than enough income and be able to take care of your expenses and take care of the mortgage payment in that situation, as well as having plenty of food on the table in the meantime, right?
Yeah, we all need income, right? If you're working, you need income. If you're retired, you need income. They typically come from different sources, but I'm not buying that investment, right?
Right.
It's really a speculation if it's not even covering. I'm not buying that because I hope in another 8 years it triples in value again. If I wanted to speculate, I'd buy something like cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin or something like that, where I could get some insane numbers if I want to speculate, right?
Right.
I'm buying it because I want an investment. And then my brother tells me, yeah, I have friends down in Texas. They buy an $80,000 house and get $800 a month in rental income. That sounds like a much better deal, right?
Nice percentages. Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, getting your portfolios, your investment portfolios set up so that you can get paid to wait, right? You get paid so you can have the lifestyle you have. If you get appreciation, you're getting paid while you're waiting for the appreciation.
Yeah.
Compared to just hoping that, over 8 years it'll double or triple.
Yeah, Daniel, that real estate analogy is really good, because you can invest, you can buy two. If you're wanting to invest in real estate, you can do it in two ways. One is for speculation, where you can flip a house. For instance, you buy the house and you're going to fix it up and sell it, but there's a lot of risk in there, because by the time you actually sell the house, hopefully the market doesn't change in that period of time. What about the people that have to work on the house? Can you get them there in the time frame? I've known people that have really gotten hurt by that, because they expecting, well, we're going to get this done in 3 months, but it takes 4, 5, 6 months to get it done, and to carry it for that period of time that drives the expenses up, which drives the profit down. And is that really worth it? Well, I talked to a lot.
If you're a professional house flipper, right? That's your job. That's totally different.
Right.
That's
But most people aren't that.
Then you're trying to get some extra income on the side, so you're trying to flip houses. So you're not talking about a professional that's all they do.
Exactly. And then the other way of investing in real estate is to be able to buy a house and then collect the rental income from the house. Now, in that situation, generally speaking, over decades, you keep that house is going to be worth more than what you paid for it. So you get appreciation that way, you get growth that way. But all along, you've been collecting those rents. Maybe those rents go to pay the mortgage. Maybe those rents go to pay you, because you've already paid off the house, whatever it may be. But that's a much more secure, that has promises and guarantees to it, because the renters are signing a lease, which is guaranteeing you that income to a certain extent. Could they break it? Well, yeah, they could. But you have much more guarantees and promises than on the speculation side, than on the flipping of the house side. So, and when it comes to people's investments, they have the same thing. They can invest for accumulation, which is the speculation side, just trying to make the money grow, or they can invest for dividends and interest so that they get that paycheck. And if they don't need it, they can reinvest it, just like, we've talked about before, the chicken and the eggs. If you buy chickens, you're always going to get eggs. And if you need money, if you need food in retirement, we have you eat eggs. And so as long as you have chickens, you'll always have food because you always have the eggs. But if you don't need the eggs, we take the eggs, we buy more chickens with the eggs. When we buy more chickens, we get more eggs. But people who are investing in the speculation side and the growth side, they're buying roosters. And if they need money, they have to kill, if they need food, rather, they have to kill a rooster. And if you kill too many roosters, you soon run out of food. Whereas the people with the chickens, as long as they don't kill the chickens and they keep taking the eggs, they never run out of food. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, or if you don't want to just eat eggs, you could always just go sell those eggs and buy some steak or something like that.
Right. Exactly. Use the eggs as currency, right? Exactly.
AAA will buy those eggs for you. He likes eating eggs.
There you go.
You'll give him to DJ.
If you just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. We're trying to educate them so that they can make smart decisions. And today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement. Which will it be for you? We have a white paper, a pamphlet, a brochure that we put together for you called The Dangers of Spending Down Principal During Retirement, because sometimes people just withdraw from their assets. They take from the principal, they engineer income as opposed to getting the maximum income from dividends and interest. And we're glad to put this paper in your hand. It will educate you on things that will be how you can grow your money the old-fashioned way. And you can have that by calling 800-725-7616. Just ask for it by name. Ask for the dangers. Okay, paper on the dangers, right? 800-725-7616. Daniel, when we're talking about having enough assets to retire or successful retirement, there's a lot that people don't realize with that. One of the things that I like to explain to people when they're talking about and seeing the changes of retirement coming, that, here you've been working for 30, 40 years, you've been climbing up the mountain of retirement, you've been looking for retirement, and many people get to the top of that mountain in a two-seater sports car, right? And it's sexy, and they're aggressive, and they're accumulating money, and it works really well for them. They get to near the top of that mountain where they're getting ready to retire, maybe retired, and it's a snow-capped covered mountain. You look over the side, and it's scary. It's scary because you're a long way up, and there's a lot of changes that are going to happen. As I said earlier, it's going to be, you're going to have your paycheck's going to change, your income's going to change, your friends are going to change, your schedule's going to change. A lot of changes are happening. Now you get to the top of that mountain in that two-seater sports car, and you got there okay, you got there safely. Well, now the question is, what are you going to do from here? Do you really want to go across that snow-capped mountain and then down the other side in a two-seater sports car to where you might just flip off the side? Or would you rather have an all-wheel drive SUV driven by a professional driver that's been there before at no extra cost? People don't realize the costs and the fees that are involved with their 401k plans, with their various things that they're investing in, because many times they're hidden. Sometimes people are double dipping, or advisors are double dipping. They're getting paid, and there's all kinds of fees going on there, and sometimes people can be paying 2-3% in fees, which digs into their returns. And if they're spending down principal, it digs into it even deeper. And then if when the market drops, it digs even deeper. So it can be very disastrous if you're going to stay in that two-seater sports car on that mountain of retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people are thinking about their retirements, you really have to stop at the top of that mountain you're talking about, look around, enjoy the views, and then say, what do I want this? retirement to look like? What do I want, right? And figure out that lifestyle, figure out the things you want to do, and put some buffers in there. Think about the first class, right? Think about maybe helping the grandkids if you want to start a business or go to school, right? Think about these things you want to do, add it up, see how much money you're going to need, and then look at your current portfolio and see if the output is high enough to cover those income needs. Because one or the other thing is going to happen. Either one, it's going to cover it and you're in good shape, or two, it's not going to cover it and you're going to have to start spending down. You're going to have to start selling assets to support that lifestyle that you want to have, or not have that lifestyle, right? Put your lifestyle on hold until the accounts go up high enough so you don't have to spend it down. And so that's, I think, the biggest takeaway here is people need to look at that purpose. What is your purpose? What's the purpose of those assets? And are they generating enough income for you to support that purpose?
Right, exactly. And, there's a lot of professional financial people out there that are talking. They talk a good talk in a lot of ways, but, whether or not that it's going to be and work for their clients properly is dependent upon a lot of things. A lot of advisors out there are working, as you said earlier, a lot of advisors are working only on the accumulation mode. The professionals, they just do because they work with people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, whatever, all ages. And there's always like, well, let's just grow your money. Let's just grow your money. That's not the answer. That's not the be all and end all to all financial programs. That's how financial programs can start, but that's not how they should end, especially if it's a retirement portfolio that we're talking about. And because of that, we have a book that we'd love to give you and our listening audience. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is enough assets to retire or successful retirement. And, we want you to be able to focus on, be able to understand that there's a different way of living retirement. And that's where this book, Common Sense Income Strategies by Michael Eastham, CPA, comes into play to be able to educate you very easily, quickly. It's only about 150 pages or so. Easy read, not financial ease, to be able to understand how the chickens and the eggs work. You see, if you're watching on YouTube, you see that he's got eggs right there on the cover of his book to be able to eat more eggs, right? Anyway, with that, we'd love to put this in your hand. Call 800-725-7616. And we'd love to give this to you so that you can have a stress-free retirement. There's too much stress in this world already. We don't want you to be stressed out with your finances. And so we hope that we're giving you good information so that you can make smart decisions. So 800-725-7616 for the book, Common Sense Income Strategies. And until next week, you too can have a stress-free retirement.